All right, welcome back to the next section of the TIA Portal software. So far, we have opened the program. We've created a new project. Mine specifically is called Project 3, but hopefully you named yours something a little bit better than me. And we've added a PLC, a S71214 AC/DC relay with the model type of 1BG40. All right. However, it doesn't really matter what model you've added. This next portion should cover that, and we're going to talk about different settings and things like that. So if we come over here and right-click on the PLC, we can select Properties. I guess Properties, Settings, same general idea. If you do it from right-clicking on that PLC, it's going to be down here at the bottom. I hate this section of the window. If you will click on the project tree, right-click and do Properties, it's a little pop-up window, which I like much better. So that is what we're going to be looking at today. So either way, it's the same exact interface. You can see that we've got, generals are right at the top. So just general information. See, look, those are the same, and then the same, everything is the exact same. So it doesn't matter which way you do it. I just don't like doing it. I don't like that screen on the bottom. So we're going to go with the screen on the top. All right, so I've zoomed in a little bit to make your guys' life a little bit easier. So if it's a little bit fuzzy, that would be why. So inside of here, we're going to start with the General tab. This is where we've got our PLC name, Arthur, and everything else. Now, you'll notice there is a little triangle to the left of all of these things. If you expand them, it will show you more information about what's in the General. Which this amuses me, because if you just click on General, it puts all of this sub-information in one scroll area, which I find to be very useful. Or you can just click on one of them separately, and now it just shows you just the project information, just the catalog, identification, those types of things. So, yeah, I like to just go with the big one, but sometimes there's a lot of options, so it's nice to be able to dive down, drill down a little bit, and just pick one specific section. So the section I want to talk about first is name. So right here under project information, under the general section, you can rename your PLC. I'd suggest doing it. You give it something special on the network. That way, if someone else is connected, they're not all named PLC1 because that is the default name. But you do not have to do that. What I do require you to do is go into the Profinet interface. All right, and then we're going to scroll down here to IP protocol, and this is under Ethernet addresses. If we just go to Ethernet addresses, here is the address in the project. So it defaults again to 192.168.0.1. You want to have a static IP address. You don't want to use the router and get a DHCP from it. We want a static IP address. So that is going to be important. Now, we're going to change this up a little bit. We're going to leave the 0 for now. But what we will use instead is the number on the PLC, plus 10. So in this case, you guys can't see that. Let me go back to my full screen. There we go. In this case, the PLC that I have pictured on the screen is number 5. So we are going to call that PLC 15. So it's the number written on Sharpie on your PLC plus 5. Again, this is for our situation in our class. If you're in a different class watching these videos, follow whatever your instructor told you to use for an IP address, or leave it as it defaults at. But for my purposes in this class, to keep us from having networking issues, we are always going to use the number on the PLC, so plus 10. So this is 5, we're going to make it 15. So we just come in here, and we're just going to add a 5 to the end of this. So either way, it's your own personal choice, but for our purposes in our class again, we're going to use that, and we're going to leave the subnet mask alone. What the subnet mask does, real quick, is it basically tells us that the first 3 numbers here, those are the street number that we live on, and then the last one is the address of our house. All right, we can get a little bit more technical about that, but for right now, that's all you really need to know. Next is clock bits and the system and clock memory. So you're going to scroll down on the left-hand side there. And for our purposes, we're going to enable both of these. Every time you're going to want to come in and enable this. Most likely something in your program will use that clock memory bit. Not necessarily, but most programs that I've ever written, they use that clock bit for something. So I really like to enable that. System memory bits, not necessarily going to be used as much, but it's still nice just to enable them, to have them if you need them. Now this does come to the question of, if you're running out of memory on your PLC, what do you give up? And these things could be one of those things that you give up. For everything we're doing in our class for training purposes, we will never run out of memory. We're never writing a program that big. At most, we might have 100 lines of code. That's a big maybe. Yeah, not going to be an issue for memory. I've seen programs in industry that are like 1,000 plus lines of code long, and they still have memory. So I wouldn't worry about memory. I would just come in and enable these, and it will just save you some hassle down the line. After that, all we have to do is click OK, and we will come back to our PLC, and we should be good. And that's about all we have for settings/properties of the PLC.